All right. Well, I'm going to try to explain the KcyGame, the Kcymaerxthaere Mysterious Postcards. It's been 4.5 years, 14 cards, plus one last clue. We sent them to 78 countries. We mailed them from 9 countries. We probably sent around 30 or 35,000 individual cards to people all around the world. And it was a pretty tricky puzzle. I wanted to make a puzzle. And I wanted to make a puzzle for Kcymaerxthaere that would invite you into the world, that would be very complicated. But most of all, I like the idea that all the answers were in here, in these 14 cards, and the last clue. And with that, without knowing anything about Kcymaerxthaere or anything else, you'd be able to figure it out. So what were people trying to figure out? The whole thing, all these clues led to one specific Kcymaerxthaere installation in the world. And what you have to do is to figure out where it is and to take a picture of yourself there, or more likely in front of a computer screen that showed that installation. And one more trick, any marker that's on one of these postcards isn't the answer. It couldn't be any of the ones on the cards. So these cards were very useful for information for solving the puzzle, but it didn't show you where you were going. And that's what we're trying to figure out. So step one is really to simply enjoy. And first thing was really just reading them. Reading, getting to know the marker, but then also reading the text you could read there, seeing what was on it, paying attention to everything. And of course, that's hard to do the first time around. And then there was, like I said, this news and clues section. There was a caption that had information. So just to read the whole thing. That was step one. Now it's step two. I think the first thing you want to do is to figure out what those numbers are all about, because they're obviously important. They're in the center of every card. So we spread all these cards out on the table. It's a lot to take in. So what we thought we'd do is condense it down here. This is the first card. This is that mysterious strip of numbers and symbols. This is the second card. It's a mysterious strip of numbers and symbols. The third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and so on. And then continuing over here, 8th, 9th, 10th, all the way to 14. Two mysteries. We don't really know what the symbols are, but we actually don't really know where the numbers came from yet. So let's take a look. The first two are pretty easy to figure out. So for example, 5. On the right side, you'll see 5. That's the month the card was mailed. Now let's go to the other side. In the 6, you'll see there are 6 dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This was always the number of dots on the map. So that's 2 out of the 6 numbers. What about the other ones? Well, the big number, 340, that actually turns out to be the number of words on the marker itself. So that one changes seemingly randomly all the time. Now these other ones are different kinds of numbers because they don't actually come from something you read on the card. They come from patterns. So you actually have to look at them in this kind of order to make any sense of them. For example, here, 1, 1, 2, blank, 5, 8, 13. Well, you may remember there's something called the Fibonacci series where each number is added to the one before it. So 1 plus 0 is 1, 1 plus 1 is 2, 2 plus 1 is, well, we're not sure what that is, but probably has something to do with 3. Then 8, 13, 20, 34, and so on. Then prime numbers. Remember prime numbers from school, of course? Well, this is 2, 3, 5, 7, 11. Those are the first prime numbers in the prime number sequence. And then the last one is the semi-primes. And semi-primes, I admit, are a little bit unusual, but they're kind of cool numbers. And what they are is that they're numbers that only have 2 factors, and both of them are prime numbers. So example, the only way to make 4 is 2 times 2, both prime numbers. 2 times 3 is 6. 3 times 3 is 9, 2 times 5 is 10, and so on. And so these are all the patterns that start to emerge. With step 2, we were trying to figure out all the patterns. With step 3, we were trying to figure out what are all these symbols. With special attention to figuring out the very prominent mysterious symbols on the cards. So first we figure values from the patterns, and that gives us some of the single symbol values, like 11, 7, 4, and 23. So that's good. But now we know we have to wrestle with a critical fact. Even the numbers we know, like 11, don't quite make sense. 11 has 2 digits for us, but just 1 in the mysterious system.
That suggests we aren't using base 10, but some other base. How do we figure that out? Well, first, remember how base 10 works.
We use the symbol 1 in the number 1, in the number 10, in the number 100. And each time that 1 means 1. But its position means that that 1 means one group of 10, one group of 1, or one group of 100. And that's the key. So now we have to figure out what base is this puzzle in. And I have a good idea of where to start. We're going to take a look at these two numbers, 35 and 43. Now, why did I choose those two numbers? Because they both have the same symbol in the second position. So the first one, let's see, is this symbol. And this, remember, equals 35. And then this symbol equals 43. Well, the good news is we already know some of this stuff. This one means 6, because we got that off the very first card we looked at. Remember, that was the month of June. 6. So we know that's 6. And then this one actually told us that that symbol is 14, so that's here. So now we got an old-fashioned math problem. X plus 6 equals 35. We know that's 29 equals 35. And then 29 plus 14 equals 43. So now we know that this symbol is 29. Now, is it really 29? No, because remember, it's in the second position. So in base 29, you would need to put the 1 symbol there for that to mean 29. We're in base 29. So this actually means 1. This is 1, and we're in the 29s column. So it means 129 plus 6 ones equals 35. Now we're pretty close to cracking the puzzle, and we can figure out what all those numbers mean.
Now that we know we are in base 29, the other clues help us figure out the last 3 symbols we need.
We no longer have mysterious symbols. We have numbers. They're just Chi numbers, and they're numbers that are in base 29. Now we come to step 5. A lot of people figured out very quickly, and probably what has occurred to you already, well, how would you know where to get to a place? Probably through GPS. But GPS has numbers, but also has north-south. So is there any insight into how we might find out about the north-south? Fortunately, one of these cards talks about a Kcymaerxthaere language called the 158. That's a language where words are numbers and numbers are words. It talks about that the number 11 means south. And that, of course, is this symbol, the spiral symbol you see there. Then it says, so glad the 158 languages made it onto one of the cards. We find them quite fascinating. For example, did you know that in the 158 language of this place, 9581 meant east and 282,810 meant west? In the Kcymaerxthaere system of this game, the way we write 11 is with this symbol. So it makes sense to ask ourselves, how would we write 9581? And when you figure it out, you write it with 3 11s. And when you figure this out, you write it with 4 11s. So I have a strong suspicion, and it turns out to be the case, that you write north with 2 11s. So now we have the 4 points of the compass, all the ones we'd need for figuring out the latitude and longitude, and we know how they're written in the Kcymaerxthaere numbering system. Now we got our coordinates, we got some idea of our numbers, but we don't have everything. Now we come to step 6. This is a puzzle that invites you to read these postcards carefully. I'm a man of my word on this point. If you read this card, there's something a little bit odd about it, and in fact, when you read it carefully, and you read the first letter of every single word by itself, it says, on Kcymaerxthaere, so okay, initial letters can point you to one spot and Karom to new plaque. Okay? So now what we have to do is we'll put the postcards in the right order, so then we can get these symbols in the right order, and that will give us our answer. We looked at these things all in order, the order that they were mailed in. Now it's time to look at them in a different order. And that's where the initial letters come in. Because what initial letters would we be talking about? The initial letters of every single plaque. The first one we sent was handfuls of small stones, so that's H. And then we went to over at Peltesh, which had an O with a little tag on the top of it. The hope was that you would notice that there was an O with the little tag on the top, which is also in Shof-Keppel Poets, and it might point you to this idea, like, could that really be a coincidence? Shof-Keppel Poets is exactly 14 letters long. And as you start playing with it, you realize that the initial letter of every card spells Shof-Keppel Poets. We know it spells Shof-Keppel Poets, but we got 2 S's, so we're going to put that aside. And then we do have more than 1 P. I think we have 2 E's, but we only have 1 H. We only have 1 O with a little tag on it. A, there's only 1 A, and that's F. There's only 1 F, so then we have only 1 K. We only have 1 L, and then one regular O and 1 T. So the good news is we know in what order 8 of the cards go. Bad news, we got 6 cards left over. So now, how do we figure out where these go? Well, the last clue tells us what to do. Green, dark blue, red, light blue, green, dark blue, red, light blue. And that's what the colors for these things on the corner are. We have 2 P's, and they both have dark green, so we're fine, doesn't matter. We have an S that has dark green, so therefore we have to use this one here, because the other one is light blue, so it couldn't possibly be the first one. So now we know that this S is at the very end. For the 2 E's, this E is light blue, so it has to go here because we have no light blue yet before we get to the dark green. And then this one goes here. Well, we have all the pieces of the puzzle now, literally. We have the numbers in the right order. We know what these numbers mean that are written in a Kcymaerxthaere base 29 language, but we know what they mean. So now we just have to put them together, and we'll see what it adds up to. It'll be the latitude and longitude. One piece of information will be in dark green. That's the point of the compass. One piece of information, the degrees, will be in dark blue. One piece of information will be in red. That's the minutes. And then the seconds will be in light blue. And then the same thing happens with the longitude. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to write the symbols in the order that the answer is in. Because remember, this is in the order of Shof-Keppel Poets. The anagram worked, but we didn't use that to directly find the location because we can't use an answer that's on one of the cards. Because remember that even though it did point us to Shof-Keppel Poets, that's actually one of the markers on a postcard. And there was that clue that told us that was not the final answer. So now we're doing this, and I'm going to put all the symbols in that order, and then we'll figure out what the math is. You can't forget the color information from the last clue. So here's one group. Here's another group of 2. Here's the ones that were red. And then this one, all by itself, just a single digit. And then this is the second line. And this group of 3 comes together. And then this guy is by himself. And those 2. And then that one. Remember, all these are the ones that are at the bottom here. Or at the the top left, bottom right. So now I'm going to write down the base 10 values of each of these. So we got 11, 11 for the latitude. And then for the degrees, we have a 1, 1 and an 18. Then minutes, so we have a 1 again, and we have a 4. And then in seconds, we have that cool looking symbol, which is a 19. For longitude, we have 11, 11, 11. Then we have this symbol, that's a 7 for degrees. Then the reds are 1 and the same symbol we used before, the 7, so 1 and a 7. And then that is followed by the last one, which is this symbol, which is 23. So the final result is that the latitude is 2 of these, means north. Then 1 and 18, because it's 2 digits, but they're base 29 digits, that 1 is actually 29. So it's 29 plus 18 is 47. That's 29 plus 4, so that's 33. And then the seconds is just 19. And then here we know that these 3 mean east. So for the longitude, it's east, and then it's 7 degrees, then 1, so 29 plus 7 is 36, and then it's 23 seconds. North is always represented as positive, so it's a positive number. So we're going to do our 47 degrees, 33 minutes, and 19 seconds. And then longitude is 7 degrees, 36 minutes, and 23 seconds. So now we're going to show the point. Let's see what happens. And we scroll up, and right there in Basel, at the exact location of the dangerous crossing, right on the edge of the Rhine River in Basel, Switzerland, it is in Kcymaerxthaere, and so Vic took a picture of himself with this page in the background. And this is a dangerous crossing, which is a key point in the history of Kcymaerxthaere, because it's where Nobunaga and Trevin get separated from Miladi's Donwira. And so it's an appropriate place for the puzzle to end. So not only is it the last clue, it's last light. That's how long it's taken. But I think that also helps you appreciate just what Vic accomplished with his dog Charlie's help in figuring out the puzzle. So you probably have earned the right to toast yourself as well. And this is a special Schof Keppel Poets shot glass. So it has Schof Keppel Poets written in 5 different ways. You recognize the symbols at the top, the words Schof Keppel Poets, the numbers, a translation, which means a dream of good health to you and all those who will be born because you have lived, is what the toast means. And then there are 14 of one shape, 48 of another, and 11 of the third. And that also means Schof Keppel Poets. And we'll be bringing some to the storytelling dinner. And I feel like I've earned this. This is very similar to Tew, which is a Kcymaerxthaerial drink favored by the benchmakers of Awazra. And it's said to be made from fermented songbirds. I can't take the strong stuff, so I'm just going to have to go with this. Cheers. Schof Keppel Poets to you for following the puzzle.